Hello, everyone. This is Tom Cunningham, and welcome to Tom is Talking. Today, we are going to be addressing an issue that is particularly important to folks in the Black community. We are talking about COVID and COVID 19 and its impacts, and also the importance of making sure that we take advantage of all possible remedies in terms of keeping ourselves safe and healthy in the midst of this crisis. And today, joining me, I have two guests, both of whom are medical professionals. Joining us first is Hernando Carter, a physician back east. Both of my guests this week are my fraternity brothers, and they are on the East Coast. So thank you for being out in the evening. And Hernando is with us. He has received the vaccine, and Clarence Tucker has also received the vaccine. So we wanted to put you in a context of realizing that people, it's not just the aged, it's not just the infirm that are getting the vaccines. Both of these individuals are on the front line, and so they were eligible in the first pass of folks who were going to be able to receive the vaccine, and they indeed have. So we're going to be talking about the importance of preparing ourselves and arming ourselves against this pernicious disease. We're also going to be talking about the legacy of some of the issues, as why there are issues and concerns about Black folks and being vaccinated, and also various tests and procedures and trials that have gone on in the past, and also some of the things that are affecting the social fabric of what we're dealing with in the United States right now, as the vaccination and the COVID-19 pandemic, and masks versus no masks, and vaxxers and anti-vaxxers, and how that is creating some strife in the social structures, and how we have been, in some instances, late to the party in terms of adopting the sort of safety precautions that will do us all well. So, thank you very much for joining us. I invite you to put your comments in the comment feed. We will be showing some comments periodically throughout the program. And of course, feel free to like Tom is Talking on Facebook and on Twitch. So, welcome to all of our viewers. Thank you so much for joining us, and we are happy to have you. Hernando, let's start off with you. You have received the vaccine already. How long has it been since you've been vaccinated, and what has been your experience so far with the vaccine?
It's been almost 3 weeks since my first dose. I'll have my second dose in a couple of days on Friday. So my experience has been good. Initially when I got the first dose, I didn't really feel any pain or discomfort. Probably about 5 minutes after, I had some arm soreness that lasted for about a day.
Mm-hmm.
And then probably about 24, 25 hours after my injection, I had a mild headache behind my eyes and a little bit of fatigue. I took anti-inflammatory, and the Alabama game was on, so I had a little uh, brown water, and I felt all better. So, and since that time, I've not had any issues at all.
And all of those symptoms that you experienced post your initial dose were expected and within the range of tolerances and expected outcomes for
Yes,
people to receive the vaccine, yes?
yes. What they saw in the initial trials was that about 50% of the people had, some mild symptoms um, after the first injection. After the second injection, it approached more closer to about 80%.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, those are expected. Headache, muscle aches, some fatigue, low-grade fever are all expected.
Now, can you offer a little bit in terms of some immunological insights as to why people who receive the second dose might experience an increased likelihood of symptomatics?
Sure. So, and this is a good point because I will often have annually, when I'm having a discussion with my patients about them receiving the flu vaccine, I'll have patients that will decline the flu vaccine because they say, well, when I get the flu vaccine, it makes me sick.
Mm-hmm.
And really, what they are experiencing is an immune response um, to the vaccination, which is a good thing. So what happens when you receive a vaccine is the vaccine's purpose is to prime your pump and get you ready and prepared to fight the actual infection should you encounter it.
Hmm.
Um, and so when you get a vaccine, you're not getting the whatever that infection or disease is. So if you get the flu vaccine or the COVID vaccine, we're not actually giving you the flu or COVID. What we're doing is getting your body's defense system, your soldiers ready to guard against foreign invaders.
Hmm.
And so when you take an injection, your immune system sets up a memory to whatever that injection is. So in this case, it is the coronavirus. And so your body sets up an immunity to it. And when your immune system is revving up, you'll start to feel ill. You'll start to feel not well. And that's why any kind of infection, whether it's a cold or flu, pneumonia, makes you feel so bad. You feel bad because your body is having an inflammatory response or reaction and is calling all your defense mechanisms, all of your defenders into play. So he has some mild symptoms after the first injection, which is expected. And the reason why the second injection, more people had more symptoms or side effects, so to say, is because your pump has already been primed. So right
Hmm.
now, my body is ready to a certain degree to defend against coronavirus. So when I get that second injection, my immune system is going to think that it's the coronavirus that is trying to attack my body. And so it's going to set off that immune response to get ready to fight it. After your body fights off an infection, it develops a memory. So should it come again, you'll be ready to fight it. And that's how vaccine work. So
Now, I'm going to give Clarence an opportunity to jump in now. When did you receive your vaccine? And talk to us a little bit about the capacity in which you were eligible in terms of how you're dealing with patients and why you were able to get the vaccine now. Because you and I are relatively contemporary in age. You're a little bit younger than me, but you're close enough to my age that I certainly am not at the top of any list. So tell us about your experience with the vaccine and what it is that you're doing.
So I work with geriatric populations at the nursing homes. So
yeah,
that allowed me to get, at the front of the line, so to speak, just out of concern for my patients that are at very, very high risk. I received mine on Monday, January 4th, so just 2 days ago. Um, Unlike Dr. Carter here, I haven't had any pain, soreness, fever, any type of it was less than I have when I get my flu shots.
Oh, okay.
So I've had a great experience with my COVID vaccine to this point. I haven't had any problems whatsoever.
Now we have Dr. Sean Hubbard. Big surprise that he's a frat brother as well, and he's saying that it's interesting, Doc, that you have had the common side effects that are associated with the Moderna vaccine. Did you receive the Moderna vaccine or the Pfizer vaccine?
the Pfizer.
Okay, so that's
Yeah.
interesting, and we know that there are some other vaccines that are being contemplated to be brought to market, including a single dose vaccine being prepared by Johnson and Johnson. And we understand that the efficacy of the Johnson and Johnson single dose vaccine is similar. It's not quite as highly rated in terms of efficiency as the Pfizer and the Moderna trials, but it's single dose. And of course, one of the issues that we're facing right now in terms of the rollout of the vaccine is the much slower pace than was originally anticipated. And obviously, as Americans, we are desperate to get as many people immunized as quickly as possible because the economy has been suffering. A lot of people, we're into the 10th month now of these severe restrictions. And so as we just as soon be able to get people back into the workplace. I, as a father of three kids, all of whom are in my house right now doing virtual school and driving me crazy, I would love to get them out of my house. So we're looking forward to that. My daughter, as a matter of fact, who is a first year college student, is champing at the bit to get hers. Clarence, you said that you're working with geriatric patients. Have you been aware of a high incidence of infection in the clients that you service in your capacity as a geriatric physical therapist?
Absolutely. Um, More so at the beginning of the pandemic, um, my nursing home actually had a pretty pronounced outbreak. Uh, we had a mortality rate. I think we had about 22.
Mm,
Uh, Unfortunately, 22 people died at my nursing
Mhm.
home, and 90 people altogether had it,
we're
including
infected.
staff. So it was a very severe outbreak before we actually were able to get a hold on it. So now we require two negative tests before you can even come in the building. All the staff members test twice a week. So it's there's a much tighter rein on it now, but early on, before people really understood how it was transmitted and how communicable it was and what exactly it was, we were hit really bad with it.
Mhm.
Now, we had seen, I know here in California, especially in March and April, there were news reports about family gatherings in our communities, uh, birthdays, wedding receptions, baby announcements, stuff like that, where you would just see dozens and dozens of us
Yeah,
in close quarters,
yeah,
no masks to be
yeah.
seen, hugging and touching on each other and dancing and all of this. I'd like for either of you to speak on the actual impact that this disease is having in our communities. I know that there's a whole contingent of Americans who simply believe that it's a hoax and it was somehow tied to the electoral prospects of the recently defeated president. But can you give me some insights, maybe Hernando, as to how this has been impacting our community in particular, out of the 345 odd thousand Americans who have died?
It's had a horrible, huge and horrible impact, and it's having one right now, in California and also in Alabama, where I am. Just try going to the hospital right now.
Mm-hmm.
The hospitals are full. In addition to my outpatient practice, I also practice at a nursing home as well. And I was talking to the nursing home director, and we were coming up with a list of supplies, things that we need to take care of our patients in the nursing home, because we've been informed by the regional medical services that if we call 911 to send our patients from the nursing home to the hospital, they may or may not be transported, depending on what's going on with them. They may have to be triaged.
Mm.
And so we're going to have to try to treat these patients in the nursing home as if they were in the hospital.
Mm.
Um, I can't name one Black person that I know is close to me right now who has not been impacted in some way by COVID, either themselves or a very close family member
Mm-hmm.
who has passed away or been very ill and is still recuperating.
Mm-hmm.
I took a week of vacation last week for the new year, only to come back on Sunday evening and Monday morning to just a long list of patients who are currently hospitalized, who are on the ventilator, who've had blood clots, et cetera, et cetera. And all of them are Black.
Mm.
Yeah.
Um, I panned down my Facebook page, and on New Year's, I saw many, many friends who were at parties and at brunches, packed into rooms and clubs with no mask on. And I know what that will equate to in about 2 to 3 weeks from now.
Right.
And so, unfortunately, we are reliving what happened now in Alabama. We are reliving what happened in New York, in Detroit, and Chicago, et cetera. And we don't have to, because we saw what happened then, but um, we just we gotta fat meat's greasy and water is wet. So here we are.
Well, Clarence, I wanted to ask you about this since you're in physical therapy. One of the canards that has been offered to people is that, well, it's only 3 to 4% of people who actually catch it die. But beyond the mortality of the issue, there are lingering effects. And we've seen
Absolutely.
a number of reports of people, young people, that not
Young
even
people.
people who are in a particular thing, but athletic people,
Yep.
people who were running marathons, who after infection
Yeah,
cannot get back to their, or have not yet been able to get back to their previous level of physical
absolutely.
health. So could you speak on that as far as some of the lingering effects that COVID, and we're not even sure about how and exactly how it is able to attack the different systems that it does,
Right.
but can you shed some light on what you have seen in terms of how it has impacted your patients?
Well, a lot of people never get their respiratory function completely back. They have lingering heart issues. In fact, a young man that played basketball from the University of Florida, he was in peak physical condition. He was 20
Mm-hmm.
years old.
Right.
And, he had contracted COVID over the summer, like a lot of young people did. He was asymptomatic over the summer, and he collapsed on the basketball court because of a heart arrhythmia that they think and are pretty certain was related to COVID. So that we're still learning of the long term effects. I know people that still don't have their senses back. They had
Mm-hmm.
COVID a long time ago. They still don't have their sense of smell back. They still don't have their sense of taste back. I have a lady that I worked with. She contracted COVID in October. She woke up 2 weeks ago and had facial paralysis,
Mm.
had Bell's palsy, and they believe that's related to her COVID. So we still don't know the long-term effects. So, to dismiss this like, oh, it's only, point zero whatever percent fatal, 1/1000th of the population of the United States has died from COVID.
Right.
1 in 1,000 people is dead in the United States from COVID, and it's largely because we lack the discipline to do something as simple as wearing a mask or socially distancing. And it's sad and unnecessary. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, right? We can't inoculate ourselves out of this. New Zealand has gotten out of it without a vaccine. Japan has gotten out of it without a vaccine because they understood an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. It came from the top down. Unfortunately, the person at the top here didn't see it the same way that their leader did. But at some point, we have to take a personal responsibility,
Right.
and not allow ourselves to be in situations where we're around groups of people that aren't social distancing, that don't have masks on, that aren't doing what they're supposed to do, and hold our friends and our family accountable.
Now, we have a question from a viewer, and I think this is more directed to you, Dr. Carter. She's a healthcare worker and she wants to get the vaccine, but she's concerned about the new strain and whether or not the existing vaccines are going to continue to be efficacious against the new strains, especially since the quote unquote UK strain, because if it was the China virus, then the UK strain is the strain that people are most concerned about now, it has reached our shores. It is now here. And so we haven't even gotten, I think they've said it's been 10 or 11 million people have been vaccinated so far, and there are 200 or 340 more that need to get vaccinated. What is your opinion about whether or not these vaccines are going to be impactful against new and emerging strains? Because as we know, there are going to be things that continue. It's not like COVID is a brand new thing. This is COVID-19 because this particular strain was identified in 2019, but COVID has many different flavors. It's just that this particular one is what is causing us so much trouble now.
Yeah, so the short answer is yes, still be effective. Okay. Um, and I'm not surprised that the virus mutated because that's what viruses do, they mutate.
Mm-hmm.
I would be concerned that if it had not mutated, these conspiracy theories about it being man-made, if it had not mutated and was not behaving as a virus normally should, then I would be concerned. So yeah, I mean, is it concerning that it mutated and this strain is kind of more transmissible? Yes, but from what we know, the vaccine is still efficacious against it. Yeah, for sure.
Well, and that's definitely good news because we know that a lot of the pushback that our community has expressed toward viruses and quote unquote solutions and fixes and cures has a long seated problem in our communities based on things that have happened in the past. Just in the even in the modern era, Africans in underdeveloped countries have been used as testing grounds. And of course, perhaps the most extreme examples in our own American history are the Tuskegee experiment, where syphilis was untreated in a population of black men who went on to, of course, then subsequently infect their wives and partners, etc., when they thought that they were receiving treatment. And to a different extent, the story of Henrietta Lacks, whose cells were just taken basically without her permission and knowledge, and turned into multi-billions of dollars worth of cures that have affected probably at this point every person on the planet in terms of the research that has been done. What do you say to a black person who is concerned that this virus may be yet another way to guinea pig some of our folks? Clarence, what do you have to say about that?
What I would say about it is this may be the safest vaccine we've ever had, because this vaccine does not inject a weakened virus into you.
Mm-hmm.
This vaccine injects a synthetic protein that tricks your body into you. So there's no way you can actually contract COVID-19 because there's no virus that is a part of this vaccine.
Yeah, that needs to be said again, because I think a lot of people, especially when they're thinking about the flu, you get the flu vaccine, and the flu vaccine is giving you a little bit of the flu, and that's what
Right.
that's how they pitch it. That's how they say, "Oh, it's a mild flu." So you get this mild flu, so that when the actual flu comes at you, you don't have as strong an effect. But what you're communicating and is that this is not only not COVID, and Hernando was basically saying the same thing, but he didn't say it as explicitly as you just said it now. It is literally not the virus. It is a protein that triggers a response
Right.
that helps you fight off the virus. And perhaps that is why this is a two-pronged effort. I'm not pretending to be an epidemiologist. I'm pretty smart, but I'm not going to say I understand exactly the protein chains and all of that. But I think it is important to say and to have people hear that you're not getting COVID when you're getting this vaccine. What you're getting is something that helps your body fight COVID. So go ahead and continue, Clarence.
Yes, and it's we have in America, and this is not specific to black folks. We have a hunger for disinformation.
Mm.
When we live in the information age, we all have a computer on our person at all times on our phones. And anyone with any questions can simply look up, how does the Pfizer vaccine work? How does the Moderna vaccine work? And I assure you, if you do that research for 5 minutes and look at it, you'll feel better about it, because that's what I did. I looked at it, I understood how it worked. It was explained very simply, and I felt better about it at the end of the day, because where I live, and I live in Virginia, our governor is a physician.
Mm-hmm.
So we shut things down early here. So our numbers are much lower than a lot of other numbers, and we're still at 24%
Right.
infection rate, and that's low. So that means one in four people I come in contact with is infected. So do I roll the dice with that, not knowing how it's going to affect me when I contract it, because I am going to contract it? Or do I do a little bit of research and understand that this vaccine is 95% effective and it does not contain any
Of the actual
COVID?
virus.
Or do I roll the dice about when I'm 100% going to contract COVID, how is it going to affect me? Am I going to be lucky enough to not have any effects, or am I going to be dead in a week? I've had patients that I spoke with one day, they tested positive the next day, and 4 days later, they were gone.
Mm-hmm.
You just never know how it's going to affect you. So,
Well, I can't believe you're making critical medical decisions off of anything other than Facebook memes, but thank you for advising people to check their phones and their Google and seek out actual answers that can help them. A person that I'm very familiar with in my life, because she's my mom, lives in Florida, and she had this to say, that the seniors there are having a very tough time getting appointments for the vaccine. Both she and my father obviously are in the tier where they would be eligible for it, but their experience has been when they open up the reservation lines to allow you to make an appointment to get the vaccine, within moments,
Mm.
3,000 slots have been filled, and you just don't have any capability of getting it. Now, I have some friends who are up in the bend of Florida, and they say, "Mom, if you'd like, you and Dad can go up to Leon County, the capital county of Florida, and get all the vaccinations you want." So maybe that's something you might want to consider doing, because it's not that far a drive. But when we sit and look at how COVID is impacting us, I want people to take into consideration it's not just a matter of health, your own personal health, it's a matter of the economic health of the country, it's a matter of the business health of everybody who is seeking employment. It's a matter of people being able to pay their mortgages, pay their rent, provide for their families. It's not just about physical sickness.
Mm.
Every aspect of the cross impacts of COVID and how it has affected the entire country are at stake here. And we have a real problem with getting this under control. I'm in California. As you well know, California is one of the worst states right now for infection. And, you know, you've got basketball games taking place with crowded bleachers. You have, you talked, Hernando, earlier about whether or not people who call for an emergency will even be taken to a hospital.
Yeah.
Literally, they have said in Los Angeles County, you need to let dispatch know what's the likelihood of survival. Because if you don't think it's a good likelihood of survival, you're going to be on the living room floor. And that's just the way it's going to be. So I want to give you guys, as we come to the 30-minute mark, I'm going to give each of you an opportunity to weigh in, offer your final thoughts on where we are, how far we have to go, and if you want to prognosticate on when you think we might be able to have enough people in the country vaccinated that we can begin to turn the corner and maybe start to resume our lives. Nando?
We're in a dark period right now. I think that the month of January is probably going to be the roughest month thus far in the pandemic, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
Coming off of Christmas, coming off of New Year's, um, with positivity rates just skyrocketing. I remember when, 15% positive rate was like astronomical, and you were
Yeah.
like, oh my God. And now we are in my area about 40% positivity rate,
Woo!
which equates to a lot of infections, which equates to a lot of hospitalizations, which equates to a lot of deaths. So, there is some hope, a glimmer of hope with the vaccine, but we're a long ways off. Maybe, hopefully, by the fall, we would have turned the corner and be back to some sense of normalcy. But what people also have to realize is that, as Clarence said, we can't vaccinate ourselves out of this. So even once Clarence and I get the second dose of the vaccine, we will still have to behave as if we've not been vaccinated. We'll still have to wear our mask and physically distance and do hand sanitizing and all those things. Because as he so astutely alluded to, just because we're vaccinated does not mean that we can't be exposed and we can't contract it. It just means that when the virus enters our body, hopefully our immune system will be able to fight it off so that we don't get sick and don't have to go to the hospital. That also does not mean that we can't still pass it along to someone else. So until we, reach, 80% of the population being vaccinated and
Right.
protected, we're still going to have to behave as if we've not been vaccinated.
Right.
So we're a long ways off. Hopefully, I'll be back to be able to sit in the stadium again in the fall at a football game and go to homecoming and do all
Right.
those things. That's what I'm looking to now. I'm looking to the fall.
All right. What about you, Clarence?
Um, the fall sounds good. It's, we just have to get a hold of our appetite for disinformation. And things like this, where people, Black people that actually did get vaccinated, speak out and try to dispel some of this disinformation that's out there, hopefully will do some good. The vaccine will be available, but it doesn't do any good if people say, you know what, I'm not getting it. It's Bill Gates trying to put a microchip in me, or
Oh,
whatever
Lord.
the weird, crazy conspiracy theories are that are out there. So the blueprint is there. Dr. Fauci told us in the summer that it was going to be a long winter. So none of this that's happening is new. We knew it was going to happen. The blueprint is there. Social distance. Keep your hands clean. Wear your mask. Keep your hands away from your face. And when this vaccine becomes available for you, take it. Don't be afraid of it. I haven't had a single problem. Dr. Carter's only had mild problems. This thing is killing Black people. You know, we know that we're susceptible to all of the pre-existing conditions that this thing likes. The heart conditions, the diabetes, the respiratory conditions. It seems like all of the pre-existing conditions that make you more susceptible to dying, Black people have those conditions at a higher rate than anybody else. So we need to even be more vigilant in taking advantage of the remedies that are here for us. So I would just say, stay away from the disinformation and do what the CDC and the science tells you to do.
All right.
The vaccine is safe. I haven't had any trouble with it, and I look forward to being on the other side of this very soon.
Well, Dr. Hubbard came in with another thing. He, like I, am very interested in the homecoming scenario. I haven't made any reservations, but
I'm there. Y'all play Grambling this year.
We do play Grambling this
Yeah.
year. That was just announced, and I am very anxious to return. I have had home Cunningham for the 2 years prior to 2019, so I was really looking forward to getting myself down to FAMU in 2020, and it didn't happen. And so I would love for it to happen this year. I want to say thank you to my outstanding guests. Happy Founders Day to these
Yes,
good
sir.
brothers who
Brody
were able
Yosemite.
to, who were ready to participate in providing this valuable information. And, you know, for those of you, the masks are quite attractive. This is I got this mask from Dionu, and that is an a Black-owned brand. And you know, I got mine to coordinate with my signature red jacket, as you can see. So I'm ready to go anywhere from Manhattan to Wakanda with my masks. And so I just want to say, for those of you who are concerned about the breathing, you know, Hernando and any other doctor can tell you these masks were not designed to stifle your breath.
Right.
These masks are designed to oxygenate you. And what they are doing is slowing the spread. Nobody said it was like some bulletproof Kevlar antivirus shield, but when you aren't spewing forth droplets, if there is an impediment that is preventing your breath from carrying droplets into the air where they can be consumed by somebody else and other people who are wearing masks, there's yet another barrier. That is why masks are important. That's why sanitizing your hands is important. These are preventative measures that are designed to help you and to help all of us from spreading this disease so that we can, in fact, get it under control. Singapore ain't playing with you people. Singapore will put you in a box and beat you until the Rona's out. So, you know, if we had taken some simple precautions, we might not be where we are. But
Right.
meanwhile, on the day when Joe Biden was supposed to be confirmed as the actual president-elect, we've got throngs of people running through the street, breaking windows in the Capitol and crawling in, no masks except tear gas masks, and acting like they don't have any natural sense. So I just want to say thank you to my guests. Thank you to my viewers. Please like Tom is Talking, because right now Tom is Talking doesn't have enough likes to index in the Facebook search. So if you were watching on Steel Sharp and Steel, if you were watching on Observations, please go on ahead and search out Tom is Talking so that for future episodes, we can make sure that you are in. And I want to thank you so much for joining us today. And keep in mind that we are going to be here talking about a variety of topics all the time. And we are happy that you were able to join us for this informative session. Thank you so much again. And I am Tom Cunningham, and shh, Tom is Talking.